This production, I hope, addresses some of those things that perhaps I should have addressed 15 years ago in recognizing that we were telling a story to a very varied group of theater goers and not only the subscription, very sophisticated theater goers at the New York Theater Workshop. Early on in the show, Mark talks about a tent city. I think a lot of people don't even know what a tent city is, so he shows us the tent city, and I think that really helps people understand what was going on in that lot across the way. I think people walked past that lot on the way to the theater, and so they really understood that. There came a time at the Nederlander when I started believing people didn't understand what that was. This was really conceived with a very varied audience from all over the world. I was really shocked and very moved in speaking to so many of them, and many of the people we auditioned, about the effect of seeing the show for the first time, the effect that it had on them. And so many people said, I love this show, it made me believe I could be a performer, it made me want to be a performer. They got to meet Jonathan's family, some of his friends, they got to see videos of Jonathan. There was a wonderful part of the rehearsal was just letting them get to know what he was like and what he was about. And then there was a fantastic opportunity to really let them know what the late 80s and early 90s was about. That's something I started doing, back at the Nederlander. There was a time when, those new companies really needed to hear about, what that environment was and what an HIV diagnosis was in the late 80s and how that changed in the mid 90s and, just as the show was really taking off. Young people recognize themselves in this moment in their lives when they're either feeling estranged from their families or feel the need to separate from their families and start their own families. And then I think old people like me remember what that moment was and the difference between who we are now and who we are then. You get to relive that moment, and I think that's very meaningful to us. Putting the show together for the first time and moving the show for the first time, it was always such a double-edged sword. I mean, the tragedy of Jonathan's passing was such an extraordinary part of that, and it still is. I mean, that irony is still so fully realized. But all of the joy of knowing that Jonathan's voice continues to be heard was really very much a part of putting this together.